All right, everyone. Let's get this live stream started. I have a little bit of time, and then I have to run out the door to a birthday celebration. So I'll be watching the clock for most of this one, and yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I'm certain it's going to hit. While I'm just presenting information, I'm certain that this is gonna hit a bunch of you somewhere. This has got 4 likes already. So I'm going to play this intro and then I'll talk to you guys on the other side and then we'll jump in. All right. Thank you for all you guys who are there right now. Please hit that like button. The super chat is live. And once I start, I'll be throwing my Cash App and PayPal in there. So I'll see you on the other side of this introduction. All right. Well, good morning, guys and gals, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76, my original channel. First of all, let me slow down. First of all, please like this stream, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Well, guys, I'm trying to up my game a little bit here. So I didn't realize that when I first started using StreamYard, there was a video component. So there's a lot of copyright free music on YouTube. And I just put that intro together for my discussion with Artisan, which took place on Thursday. So as this journey continues, look for upgrades in the production quality and just the overall show. The overall show production. Okay. So guys, this is going to be an interesting conversation, and it's probably going to touch people in different ways. And I'm not doing this to tell anyone what they should do or what they shouldn't do or how to live their lives. So I want to make that clear in the beginning. I also want to make sure, guys, I want to keep this up, and I know that some people are looking at the title and automatically people's minds are racing to take this in one direction or another direction. But guys, just play nice in the chat and just keep it clean. If you super chat me something, yeah, just because I want to leave this up, and 6 months from now, I'm not going to remember everything that was said here. So just play nice, please. Okay, so I'm gonna say a few things, and then I'm gonna jump into the article, and I have a special guest who's gonna come up and give his opinion and his insight on this. He's from the financial sector, so he knows a hell of a lot more about money than I do. So let's jump in. So people, going back to people telling you what you should and you should not do with your life, that seems to be. I seem to be in the season for that. I was a coworker, a former coworker, reached out to me yesterday, and as most of you know, I am a regulatory scientist, and this coworker moved on to someplace else, and we don't talk all the time. So this person doesn't really know what's going on with my life, and he doesn't really know what I'm shooting for at this time. And we got on this Zoom call. It's a Saturday morning, and he was asking me about there's a test that there's a certification that toxicologists have to take, or they don't have to take it, but it looks well when you're looking for jobs and you're looking for positions. And my former coworker asked me, have you thought about taking this test? And I said, you know what? I thought about it, but I haven't moved on it. And immediately he lit into me, said, it's time to get serious. And I said, whoa, 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 sir. Whoa. I said, time out, time. I said, stop. I said, you don't know what's going on in my life. You don't know what I'm shooting for right now. And you don't know what I'm I'm chasing down right now. So you asked to get on this Zoom call with me. You asked to catch up with me. So you shouldn't be coming in here telling me that I need to get serious. And he apologized. And I'm saying that to say that people don't take the time to stop and ask where you're at. They don't take the time to stop and ask about what you're shooting for. They don't. Oftentimes they rush in with their opinions of what you should do with your life, which to me is very offensive. Well, the sixth uh, self improvement summit was last week, and of course, I met Ron Wills, I met Cousin T-Taw, I met C Boogie. But one of Ron Wills' biggest things is sovereignty, having sovereignty and control over your life. So I was thinking about that yesterday, and so I told my former coworker that I'm chasing my dream right now, which is to be a writer. And guys, before most of my content, before most of the live streams, I'm going to show this because that's part of marketing. That's part of being a YouTube content creator. Oh, Sammy's minus dead is here. What's going on, LJ? Okay, let me hurry this up so I can get into this because I have another guest, and I think LJ is probably going to want to say something about this. Okay, so guys, my whole purpose for coming to YouTube was to build an audience to become a writer. This is my book project. It's called The Engineers: A Western New York Basketball Story. The link is below in the description box. But I'm saying this to say that, again, people are quick to rush in and tell you what you should be doing with your life without even asking you what's on your mind and what your drivers are. And I think it's important to, before you start going on to someone about what they should do and what they haven't done with their lives and why you're wrong for not doing certain things and how you need to get serious, it's important to take some time to understand where a person's coming from. But anyway, that's my book project, and that's what happened yesterday. So I'm thinking a lot about sovereignty and having control over my life. And you'll probably see some more content come out about that soon. Guys, so as most of you know, this channel has evolved, and course corrected a little bit. And I think that what I want to do on this channel is to do what I'm going to do today, which is to present information and talk about ideas, not necessarily to demonize anyone, not necessarily to talk badly about anyone, but so you might not see a lot of the Brittany Renner, Kevin Samuels stuff here, and if you do, it'll be from more of an educational spin, and you won't hear stuff like ghetto gaggers, and you won't hear about that stuff here. I'm very selective now about how my image looks and how my brand looks, and I'm a little more selective about what gets posted on my community tab. So I just wanted to say that, and by the way, I did watch a little bit of that interview between them. I was watching Ty City and Zero give commentary on that. It was a little cringeworthy, and just a lot of those discussions over on Kevin's channel. Of course, he's blowing up. It's a little depressing after a while listening to that. So I just want to say that I want to turn this more to a bit of a think tank and more of an information center. And as I've described to you guys, this is one of my major inspirations. An older gentleman, he's probably dead now, named Bruce Williams. He had an AM radio show, and there on his show, they talked about current events, money, and thoughts of the day. And it was just like a thought center. And I think I want to turn this channel into that, in addition to promoting my book and those kinds of things. So today's topic, going back to people telling you what you should do and asking you why you haven't gotten certain things done yet in your life. Well, I think this folds into that. My channel also has a bit of a money focus, and this topic centers around money. It centers around a certain life event, and one of the things that's often not discussed when people tell you and ask you, why haven't you done this yet? Why haven't you started this phase of your life? What are you waiting on? The money aspect almost never comes up, especially with the baby boomer generation. They talk about it. And this is not telling anybody what they should or should not do with their life. I'm just saying that the baby boomer generation, those who are not in the know about today's climate, they look at childbearing and those kinds of things as, if you listen to what they say, many of them look at it as something that's owed to their generation. So you're supposed to give your parents things. You're supposed to, you owe it to the previous generation to give them grandchildren, for example. But the cost of that almost never ever comes up. Salchi, I'm about to jump into the article now, so just be patient. So again, this is not to guilt anybody or sway anybody in one direction or the other. It's just to present the information for discussion. The thumbnail for this, guys, is MLR. Thank you for stopping through the thumbnail. As you guys have seen, and this is our wallpaper for today's stream. It's an ultrasound. It's an ultrasound of a fetus. And in today's social media age, and even within text groups, it's not uncommon for a couple or a woman to post the ultrasound, saying, we've finally done it. We're blessed. It's here. Those kinds of things. So I thought that was an appropriate thumbnail for this. And as a scientist, I was thinking, my first lessons on embryogenesis were at the SUNY College of Brockport, which is near Rochester and near Buffalo. And it was very fascinating to hear about to learn about how a fetus forms. You get the embryo, it starts to divide, and the neural tube forms, and eventually all the tissues start to differentiate. So that's very interesting. So where did this discussion come from? Well, guys, I have to credit this to a very, very unlikely source. And this is a money guy himself. I have to credit this to Boyce. Years ago, I am subbed to Boyce, and Boyce has taken it on the chin for his marital choice. I never judged Boyce for what he did in terms of marrying Alicia, later on in life after she had already been with somebody and had children by someone else. I never judged Boyce on that. But of course, he's been critical of some of the discussions in the sphere. But Boyce, when he's not dipping his hands into social topics and pop culture, Boyce is a money guy. He's always talking about stocks and crypto and those kinds of things. And I think in this particular discussion, Boyce was talking about seriously considering the cost of having a child. And that was the first time I ever heard that the cost of a child from birth to age 18 is $250,000. That's the first time I ever heard that. That never came up in my family. Of course, retirement savings never really came up in my family. And all of the other things in terms of winning with money, for the most part, aside from saving money, never really came up in my family. So I have to credit, I'm going to show this picture again. I know this is going to make some of you guys cringe, but I'm going to credit Boyce for putting this into my mind a couple of years ago. And it's something that I never forgot after he mentioned that. And it's when you think about it, $250,000. And this was a couple of years ago. You think about, how do you pay for that without going into debt? LJ was in the chat. I don't know if he's still watching. You think about, wow, the people who haven't planned this life event out, how are they paying for that? People with 4, 5, and 6, and those kinds of things. So it's when you hear that gives a much different perspective on it, as opposed to this is something that you should do. It's something that you owe. So with that, guys, I was sitting at the bar. I was sitting at in McCormick and Schmick's. I think it was Wednesday night, having a glass of wine and some salmon and some mashed potatoes and a vegetable. And I was pondering this, and I pulled up an article from Google. It's from U.S. News and World Report. And I'm going to read that. It's a short article, and then I'm going to bring my guest up. And if we have time, I'll allow some other folks into the stream, but I'm on a tight schedule today. So this is not going to be a 3 to 4 hour stream. By the way, guys, if you want to make a donation to the channel, again, the super chat is live. If you want to super chat comments, you can do that. My Cash App and PayPal are here. So it's going to be, this next phase is going to be a little bit of story time, but it's going to be short. This is a short article. It's a short read. It's a quick read. So here we go. How's the Joker say in The Dark Knight? And here we go. All right. Guys, the other thing I realized going back to my coworker yesterday, not everybody understands the discussions, the discussions that are had in the sphere. They're not being had anywhere else. And when people hear these things for the first time, it's alarming. And my coworker yesterday, he's Puerto Rican. So I think he heard me on a stream with Ram or maybe BGS. And he said, it sounds like you were talking to a pimp. And I don't know who he was talking about, but it's interesting because people take a peek in and hear what's being discussed, and people don't always understand what's going on because the different communities, there are different dynamics in different communities, different social norms, and in Puerto Rican communities and Arab communities, Asian communities, they don't understand everything that's happening in the Eidos tribe. So here we go. So how much does it cost to raise a child? Oh, I see. Wow, all the financial guys are coming out today. Alonzo Hall is there. The government has said the price of one child is more than $230,000, but as the saying goes, your mileage may vary. This was written by Mary Aline Lapanis, and it was published on September 7th, 2021. So this is fairly recent. And that's that picture, that pretty little girl right there. I used that picture in my community tab to set this stream up. Okay. This caption says prospective parents should ask whether they are willing to shift money away from their current expenses in order to accommodate the needs of a child. Okay. Kids aren't cheap. That's the consensus among both the government and parents, but exactly how much. Okay. I'm going to log out of Facebook, guys. Give me 1 second here because I'm in a group of guys and they like to start messaging all at once. And this is distracting me. So let me. Okay, that should take care of that. All right. Kids aren't cheap. That's the consensus among both the government and parents, but exactly how much they cost is up for debate. For years, the United States Department of Agriculture published an annual report that calculated the average cost of raising a child to adulthood, not including college expenses. That's another one right there. The report hasn't been undated since 2017, but at that time, it found the cost of raising a child born in 2015 was $233,610. That assumes a child was born to a middle income married couple. When adjusted for inflation, the number jumps to $233. I mean, $267,233 in 2021 dollars, based on data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I can't even think about that much money, is the reaction of Leah Groves, a single mother of two in Lowell, Michigan. For parents like Groves, the prospect of paying that much to raise children isn't just daunting, it may not even be possible. I can't afford childcare, she says. Instead, the 31-year-old works from home for a nonprofit organization and recently picked up a part-time job at the local YMCA, specifically because it offered childcare as a work benefit. The USDA found that in 2015, single-parent households spent an average of $172,200, more than $60,000 less than their married peers. When adjusted for inflation, that figure increases to $196,984 as a solo parent's current cost to raise a child to 18. The government numbers aren't necessarily reflective of all families' experiences, though. There are a number of circumstances and choices that can increase or decrease the cost of child rearing. As Groves notes, you can provide a simple, good life for much less. I think that's a profound statement right there. How much does it cost to raise a child? The USDA came to its figures by using data from the annual Consumer Expenditures Survey. It found the cost of raising kids can also vary by region, with the Northeast being the priciest location in the nation. For children born in 2015, average spending breaks down into the following percentages according to the USDA. Housing 29%, food 18%, childcare and education 16%, transportation 15%, healthcare 9%, miscellaneous 7%, and clothing 6%. So housing seems to be the biggest cost. As for how much does a child cost per year, the USDA estimate breaks down annually to $14,846 in 2021 dollars for middle class two-parent households. In 2019, Lend EDU, an online marketplace for financial products, surveyed 1,000 parents who had a child between the ages of 1 and 3. They were specifically looking for how much does a baby cost, and discovered parents spent an average of $13,186 during their child's first year, although the median cost was only $6,000. Okay. Meanwhile, the nonprofit Economic Policy Institute used 2017 data to determine how much families throughout the county need to spend to maintain a modest but adequate standard of living. In the Los Angeles metro area, adding a child to a two-adult household could be expected to raise annual costs by $24,236. Even in the Kansas City metro area, where the cost of living is significantly lower, one child could be expected to add $17,869 to the family budget. While average costs can be helpful for budgeting purposes, they can also paint an overly bleak picture of parenting. Many parents can and do spend significantly less. It's okay to not be giving your kids what Instagram says you should be, Groves said. And guys, we're toward the end here. Factors that influence child raising costs. While cost estimates can be a helpful benchmark for parents, they may overestimate certain costs while ignoring others. Cost of living and family support are things you have to consider, says Anthony Paul, managing director and co-founder of the Hamilton Group, a financial planning firm in Greenwood Village, Colorado. Grandparents nearby who are willing to babysit for free can all but wipe out child care expenses. Meanwhile, monthly mortgage and rent payments may be lower for those living in states with affordable housing, such as South Dakota and Michigan. However, there are trade-offs to living in some states with a lower cost of living. For instance, Michigan parents need to buy clothing appropriate for 4 seasons, says Michael Foguth, a father of 6 and founder of Foguth Financial Group in Brighton, Michigan. With kids, you have to buy winter boots and coats every year, he notes. As kids age, they may have added expenses for school activities, sports teams, and electronic devices. One way to minimize these costs is to ask teens to find a job and pay for their own discretionary expenses, Paul suggests. Are you able to afford a child? While couples often discuss whether they can afford children, Foguth doesn't think parenthood should be reduced to a financial decision. Rather than asking if you can afford children, a better question may be whether you are willing to shift money away from your current expenses in order to accommodate the needs of a child. Are you willing to make financial sacrifices for someone else? Foguth asks. There are immediate costs associated with the birth or adoption of a child that couples can anticipate. However, after that, the parents usually have significant flexibility in how much or how little they spend on their kids. Having multiple children can raise costs, but perhaps not as much as people expect. Parents may already have a home and a vehicle large enough to accommodate multiple children. Childcare providers may also offer sibling discounts. Plus, clothes and toys can be passed down to younger siblings, and food that is purchased in bulk can result in a lower per serving cost. In some cases, parents find that what they thought would be expensive is not. For some reason, I thought I would be paying an arm and a leg all the time to go to the doctor, Groves says. However, that has not been the case since her boys in first grade and preschool are covered by their father's health insurance policy, making out-of-pocket costs minimal. Budgeting for a baby. For would-be parents, the various numbers come with bad news and good news. The bad news is that savings they have prepared in anticipation of a baby might not be enough. However, the good news is there is a wide variation in the cost estimates because so many expenses can be optional. Rather than buying expensive gadgets, upsizing the house for more space, and insisting on new items, parents can keep costs down by making do with what they have already. Paul, who has 3 daughters, encourages people to consider buying secondhand, maximizing the use of grocery savings apps, and rethinking expensive family vacations. Rather than fill your house with toys, he recommends asking relatives to donate to a child's college fund instead. Toys are literally a vacuum for your wallet, Paul quips. Limiting extracurricular activities can also rein in expenses. It's okay if your kid is not involved in a sport or activity every season, Groves said. And she too is a fan of buying secondhand whenever possible, saying, buy that saucer from Craigslist for $5. Kids don't have to be as expensive as the number suggests. Couples should honestly evaluate not only their finances, but also their commitment to sacrificing creature comforts for the sake of raising children. For those who make the leap to parenthood, they may find there is ultimately only one word to describe the cost of kids: priceless. All right, that's it. Let's see what's happening here in the chat. MLR, hey, bro, I appreciate the generous cash apps. MLR says, support the good doctor, folks. Appreciate that, MLR. I appreciate your continued support, supporting our scholars as always. All right, everyone. Like I said, this is not going to be a 3 to 4 hour stream, and I have a guest backstage from the financial sector who knows a hell of a lot more about money and finance than I do. I met him last week at the Self-Improvement Summit. I think I'm part of Round Will's gang now. So I want to welcome in Salchi, the Equalizer. Good morning.
Can you hear me? Good morning. Perfect. Yeah. Before I even get into the numbers, man, I mean, the thing that they don't talk about, especially nationally, is the degradation of the family unit. So they're constantly pushing, the single mother, she's superwoman, and it takes a family to raise one child, let alone 2 or 3. Okay, so that's already a problem in itself without the finances. So that's why, and the government has known this for decades, that's why they utilize taxation to buffer, because they know that, it's really not a true answer to buffer, raising, for these single, households, single parent households, which is predominantly women. It's not taking sides. It's just is what it is, looking at cold numbers. Now, if we're gonna get into the numbers. Okay. And this is
Salchi,
yeah.
let me put this disclaimer out there. Okay, again, everyone, nothing being said here is meant to demonize anyone or
exactly.
belittle anyone. This, again, I want to turn this channel into a bit of a think tank and an information hub. So go ahead.
Yeah. So same thing with the numbers, man. Nationally, they're not going to tell you guys the truth because they need to keep order. Okay. But people feel that they're not getting ahead. Okay. So you have to be very careful with words, with what words they're using, especially when it comes to finances. A lot of times they'll say, household income. Okay. So if a household income is some 60 something thousand, and they're assuming that it's, 2 people, a man and a woman, income coming in at 60 something thousand. And also they're always talking about gross income. Very rarely are they talking about post-tax. Okay. So even if I'll be nice and say it's 100,000, 2 people, 100,000. Okay. So even with taxes and it varies, you're not even taking home. I mean, you're not even taking home $50,000 for the most part. How are you going to raise a child? And that's 2 people making $50,000 gross. The average person in this country, and I'm using IRS numbers, not whatever numbers everybody else uses. IRS numbers, because I also do taxes on the side. So as of 2019, the average person, based on tax statistics, real numbers, only made $43,700 gross income. You cannot afford to have a child, realistically, unless both persons are making that exact amount of money, or at least roughly, and they're on the same page. But you won't be able to save anything for the most part, realistically, when the average national rent is about $1,435 to about $1,600. Remember, you're making purchases. Your living expenses are post-tax dollars, but they're talking about gross income dollars.
Okay.
You can't keep up. So now, and the same thing when they talk about middle class and all those other things. Realistically, is you're working class. I mean, you're working poor. Okay. I mean, I have brief figures. Working poor, and I'm talking single, like a single person. Working poor, you're still working poor if you're making $84,000 gross. That's roughly $59,990 net. Obviously, it depends on your insurance costs and retirement contributions, but that's roughly what it is. So based on my numbers, what I consider where you can actually thrive, your rent is some $350 a month to $1,248 max. And then you have to save half of your take-home dollars. That's the only way you can make it. And this is what financial advisors and the government, they're not going to tell you. If you cannot save your annual expenses every year financially, you're not going to make it. And this is something you probably have people rarely ever hear, but that's just the truth. It's just cold, hard numbers. And this is why they sell you guys hope with the 401k and all these other things and child tax credit, because you don't make enough money. End of story. So realistically, in my opinion, because to me, middle class is somewhere at some $178,000, whether it's total income or with two people or one person. So you're roughly taking home $120,000. Okay, now you're talking. Now you can actually afford to survive and not struggle at all if you aren't making stupid purchases. And you can actually afford to have a child or two, realistically. Okay, and even there, you're still saving $60,162.
Yeah. Hey, Saj, let me stop for a second. Going back to the super chats, Mr. Heat, I didn't acknowledge you. Both of these were orange. So, Mr. Heat, thank you for the super chat support for the good doctor and folks. MLR already got yours, supporting our scholars as always. Thank you guys for the super chats, and I want to thank also Rock for the generous super chat. I'm going to interject something, Salchi, and this is a story from a couple of years ago. In our community, I'm sure you know that making six figures is a big deal. I'm sure LJ is laughing at that in the chat right now.
Yeah.
But me and my mother had a major run-in because just to make this brief, another relative was trying to invent something, and my mother thought I should have been able to peel off $3,000 because she said you make six figures. $3,000 is just a drop in your hat.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to show you guys something, and I presented this earlier in the year. In terms of retirement savings, I know LJ is probably bristling at this too, but the IRS's max contribution for 2021 was $19,000, or it is $19,500. So if you're making $100K, that's $20K coming off the top.
Yeah.
So if you're making 120, obviously you have a little bit more, but your relatives and people, they're not looking at these things when they're telling you what you should be doing and how you should be spending your money and how you should be helping with this and helping with that. And this goes back to what Salty just talked about in terms of people think about the gross. They think about what's on the top, but they don't think about what's coming out and what has to come out. Go ahead.
That's right. That's very pointed, because, and they actually just raised that another like $100.
Yep.
They raise it roughly $100 every year. I mean, it's pointless because, and the other thing about 401ks and those type of investments, there are phase outs income. So once you hit the real numbers that I think you need, like if you're making 178, you're phased out. You can't contribute. You can't contribute to a regular 401k. You can't contribute to an IRA. You're phased out because you quote unquote make too much money. But people don't understand this stuff. It's hilarious to me. But I tell people, especially men, at a minimum, and a lot of guys get upset. You really need to be, and this is by government, SEC or government numbers. You need to be at least an accredited investor status, and I'm talking income-wise. So that means you need to be at least at 200,000 plus a year, and by their standards, that's the last 2 years and current year. Okay, to me, that's where the game starts. As a single man, single. I'm 38. I don't have kids. That's why. Cold hard numbers. And that's still, you're still middle class at 200,000. You're at, upper middle class at 350,000. So when you hear all these people talking about the guy needs to make 6 figures, it's statistically the amount of men that actually are people that make that number, even because top 10% of income earners is not even 100,000 anymore. Nationally, it's 158, roughly 58,000. So if you're making 100,000, you're more like in the top 15%, not the top 10. I mean, people don't know numbers. They don't know numbers. They don't know taxes. And because they don't know the basics, they cannot make, sound financial decisions. They cannot make sound, major decisions in their lives when it comes to who they're actually going to procreate with. Because if you're going to procreate with somebody, yeah, you have to be on the same page. And this is a commonality that I've come across in the last almost 2 decades with people who are legit middle class. And they flat out told me it didn't matter their income level, their race, their religion. And we're talking people who are making household incomes who are making 2, 3, 4, 500,000. All of them said the same thing. We're middle class.
Wow.
Every single last one of them. When I lived in Stamford, Connecticut, if you know anything about Stamford, Connecticut, surrounded by real money. When I moved back to Rhode Island, same deal. Now I'm in the DMV. I'm literally 2 exits away from DC. Every day I see a supercar. Every day. And it's the same thing. People who make that kind of money, especially here, they know we're middle class. $200,000-$300,000, that's nothing. Real rich that they talk about, the supposed 1%. Nationally, it's only what, 580? It's some 580, 540, I think, $1,000. And again, that's gross. That's not real rich. That's just getting into the bottom 1%. But look at these investment firms. What do they actually consider rich? Starting, you're making $1 million plus a year and you got assets 20 plus million. That's rich. Bottom of rich. So if you want to have a child and your income is nothing of what I just stated, anywhere near that, even at 178,000, you have to almost be perfect at everything you do. And that includes, hopefully, your child does not have born with any kind of ailments. Because if they have any ailments, that means your expenses are going to go up even higher. And that's the other thing of why you're hearing a lot of people complaining about the healthcare system. Well, the healthcare system is so expensive because, well, the majority of people in this country, they are not healthy. So of course the healthcare system cost is going to be high. It's in the hundreds of billions of dollars annually. That's another place where your tax dollars go. So if the majority of people were actually healthy, your taxes should be less. I wouldn't say would be less because obviously we're talking about dealing with politicians. But those are the numbers, man. And that's why I prefer to deal with numbers, because it's just a cold hard truth. It's whether you're going to do it or not, whether you're capable or not. End of story. There's no I feel and yada, yada, yada. I don't deal with all that stuff. This is why I'm in finances. And I see this all day, every day. I mean, now I'm on the commercial side, so I don't really deal too much. I really deal more with people who actually have money now. Up until the past couple months, man. I mean, I've seen people. I'm telling y'all, I've seen some NBA players' incomes. I've seen people drop 100,000 last year, 100,000, 500,000, $1 million, $2 million, cold hard cash, just to bring their mortgage down. That's real money. And people complaining about being able to afford a child. You better be on your game. You have to be in your game. Especially as a man, no days off. And you have to be extremely selective of the woman you're going to procreate with. She can't be on this. And again, this is not putting anybody down. It's just if you want to thrive, this is what has to be done. Because you're talking about dealing with an entity that, one, didn't ask to be here, and two, is helpless up until a certain age. And then you also have to raise a child. You also have to, get the child ready for the real world. So it's just not also the cost, it's also your time. And you still have to take care of your health. You still have to take care of all the other things that go on with life. And then you're adding a child to the equation and hopefully not damaging the child, emotionally, and just giving the child exactly what they need so they can thrive. And this is why you're seeing the margin between the haves and the have-nots just continues to accelerate every year. And as we discussed, was it 2 Sundays ago, the gap it's growing, man. And people have no idea what's going. They feel it, but they have no idea what's going on. So for me, as a man, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't have a child. It's just cold hard looking at the numbers. You need to sit down and understand the numbers for your own self. And then before you have a child, whoever you're dealing with, you need to have a sit down. Now, if you're getting a whole lot of pushback, that's already a problem. What do you think is going to happen when you actually have the child and things, go off of plan? Because again, you're dealing with a child, a baby. Anything can happen. You might need to pay $1,000 or $2,000 because they fractured their finger, their leg. And again, most people don't even have $500 in their bank for emergency funds.
Mm-hmm.
So you really need to take this kind of thing seriously, man. And to be quite honest, people further at the top, this is normal conversation.
Is it?
It's normal conversation. Again, because I talk to them. Because I left Rhode Island when I was 19, 20. So I was literally thrown into an environment that I, on paper, thought I understood, but I didn't understand. When I'm seeing kids at that time, 19, 20, in quarter to almost $1 million, cars on a regular basis. I was thrown into the real world. I was around real billionaires that you don't know about, hedge fund guys. And they were giving me the real business. Why? Because they saw that I was hungry. They saw that I was quote unquote smart and those other things. So they just told me the truth. Oh no, this is how we do things in our business. Oh no, this is how I operate. My family operates. That's how they talk. We sit down, and it's not only the men. I've had women, professors, female professors, especially the accounting side, flat out, they talk exactly just like that as well. No, you're supposed to sit down with your spouse. You're all supposed to talk about your finances. You have one account for yourself, one account for her, one account for handling the house business and for the kids.
So it sounds like treating it like a business.
Exactly. So it's funny. I'm glad you said that, because when I say that, I say it as exact words to women on purpose to see where they are. And the women who buck, I know it gives me a good indication of their background and or where they are in life. Because when I say that to a lot of women higher up, it's a no-brainer to them. Like, I mean, literally, it's like, duh. And they all say very, very similar things. And it's, again, various races, various income levels, various backgrounds, various religions. They're all saying very, very, very similar things. And many of these women are, in my opinion, and they were, especially in my 20s, and they were all older than me, all 40 plus, 45 plus, all going to the gym. Some of them were retired early. Many of them, they and their husband didn't have anything when they, started dating. Similar story. When we got serious, we had to sit down on how many kids we were going to have and how we were going to raise our kids and what colleges they were going to go to. I'm quoting multiple women, exactly what they told me. There was no bucking between what the man and the woman does and blah, blah, blah. And all these women worked. They worked or were retired. Every single last one of them.
So, in other words, I hear you saying two things: that they were able to work as a team,
That's
and
right.
it wasn't this thing we hear on the Image Guys show every night about,
No.
do you want to work and pay significant bills, or do you
No.
not want to work and pay significant bills? Okay.
They knew better. First and foremost, they wanted to make their own money, but it wasn't a power play. That was not what they were expressing. It wasn't. The man is supposed to, make all the money, and I just sit around and blah blah. Nah, it was that energy. That was never expressed because, again, they had that. They knew better. They know the 1950s ended in the 1950s. One person's income, like, life has changed since then. We have a globalized economy. And then remember, then you dumped a whole gender in the workforce. So anyone who knows anything about economics, supply and demand, what happens when you put a lot of supply into a market? I mean, you just dump them in there. The price goes down. So that's what happened. That's what happened to wages. And you can see, technically, wages from people who are not in the top 10% of income earners has not budged for the most part since like 1976, I believe. It's going on 2022.
Okay.
People can't read the numbers.
Okay. So your cutoff for the top, again, going back to the top income earners, is high 100, 170 something?
Well, average number. The average is roughly 100 and a little bit over 158,000 now. The reason why I bug at that right now is because of all the digital dollars they put into the system last year. Now you're hearing even Wall Street Journal recently said, the inflation. Well, they expressed the inflation rate is 6.1% because of last year. Whatever the government says, at a minimum, I double it. Whatever the hell they say. How I look at inflation, I look at the M1 or M2 money supply. Again, when we talked about basic economics, supply and demand, you dump a whole lot of something into an environment, what's going to happen? So they literally, the amount of money they put to the system was roughly 40% of all the currency ever created in this country, period. They did that within weeks. I mean, think about that. Trillions of dollars. Trillions. So I'll be nice and say the real inflation rate's around 20%. Did your take-home dollars go up by 20%? Probably not. And the guys who actually own various assets, and some billionaires actually said this this year. I'm forgetting the guy's name. His company, Micro something, is right here. It's not far from where I live out here in VA. But even he said it. He said a lot of these rich guys are billionaires or high multi-millionaires. He said if we actually, depending on the investments, if we didn't do anything at all, we just got richer. Like, he said that publicly.
Okay, say that one more time.
As of 2020,
Yes.
depending on, obviously, who you are, how much, what assets you had, it might have been smart if you did not do anything, because you made more money you probably made more money not doing anything. Perfect example, Jeff Bezos. What numbers? How fast did he climb? Within weeks. That's big boy game. That's what I call that, big boy game. And had a divorce. And he's still the wealthiest guy, individual. Big difference, man. When you know how to read the numbers and you can listen and see what they're saying or what they're trying to sell, then you know how to pivot, and then you know how to move.
Okay.
And most people, they just don't. And I'm talking, and I'm even talking about people with their college degrees and blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm in finance. Every once in a blue moon, I might have a conversation with the top execs, and they don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. They sit down and they start asking me questions. And these are guys who are making $500+ a year base pay.
Wow. Okay. We are just at about an hour. Salchi, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I mean,
before I throw the link in the chat, guys, we'll go for just a little bit longer because I have to run out to someone's birthday celebration. What can you say a few more words going back to the whole six figures thing, and why that's deceptive? Because we're enamored in our tribe that.
Well, yeah, because again, they're using old figures because they don't understand finances. So they think 100,000 is 100,000. 100,000 last year is not 100,000 this year. It's not gonna. I'll even go up to $1 million. The new $1 million is $3 million. Wow. Most people don't know that because they don't understand finance. They don't understand inflation. So if somebody says, "Oh, I got $1 million," cool. I've seen accounts with $1 million. I've seen accounts in a checking account with $60 million. Cold hard cash in a checking account. And you know how much money they were getting per month? At $60-something million? Some 20,000. That's how much money it takes. People really have no idea what's going on right now. No clue. You can throw your money in 401k. Just do the basic math. Don't even factor in inflation. Don't even because remember, you put money in a 401k. That's with post-tax dollars that's going to get taxed later on. You don't know what the value of the dollar is going to be later on when you're older.
Well, I mean, if you use the Roth version of the 401k, aren't it's being taxed on the front but not on the back, right?
If you do that, up until again, there a lot of people don't know. It depends on how much money you make. You get phased out. You get phased out based on your income. I mean, I was literally just doing this yesterday because I have to do my continue ed, and I was literally on the IRA section. So I literally have the notes. Roth IRA, you're limited up until $124,000 a year. That's when you can hit the top limit, which is $6,000 if you're under 50. Once you hit 50, then you can do a little bit of catch up, measly $1,000 a year. Okay, then it starts to reduce once you get at $124,001. You're basically once you hit 139,000, that's it. You can't contribute.
Wow. So what's your retirement strategy at that point?
you're gonna get taxed out your ass. Or you better understand different investments. And this is the other thing, and this is why I say at that number, that's why I say you're really in the middle class there, because you're not getting any real incentives. So now you have to understand investments. It depends on what it is. Is it real estate? Is it going to be stocks? Is it going to be small business? Is it going to be commodities? You better understand the game, because it's nothing but sharks there. So it all depends, you know. Obviously, the big thing is always real estate. Is it going to be commercial or residential? And here's a real number. If you want to do commercial, again, for you to really even get into that, again, you got to be in the credit investor. What number is that again? $200,000+ a year. And to really consistently invest in syndications, whole different ball game. When it comes to commercial real estate, you realistically you need to be making $350,000 minimum, or you better be a freaking expert and you make less money. Okay, but those are exceptions, so there's no point in even talking about that.
Okay,
that's the real. Those are the real numbers, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So this whole $100,000, when to get in the top 10% of income earners on average is $158,000. Their numbers are off by damn near $60,000, and that's national average. So what's the number in your area? In our area, Dr. Dunbar, it's before 2018. As of 2019 numbers, it was just shy of $190,000 a year, not household, per person. That's adjusted for living expenses in our area. Again, you don't know how to read the numbers. Guys like me, we're gonna run circles around you. You won't even know what the hell is going on. And then they have a bunch of other guys, other professionals, doing the same thing. So now they're pretty much moving as a team. You're sitting over here trying to do everything or alpha your way through it. Gonna run right through you. And then when the market crashes, we got access, we got resources, we'll come buy it up. That's the game. So if you want to have a family, you better make sure she's bald. She understands what's going on, and you guys are moving as a unit. I'm telling you, you can't beat the numbers, and two, you're not gonna beat people who are cold hard, really know what's going on, really disciplined, insider information. Not gonna happen, and that's why they sell people hope. You just not. It's just. I'm telling you. I see it all the time, man. I see it every day. This is what I do. See it all the time.
Okay. I want to thank Barry Little for the $10 super chat. # support your scholars. Salchi, there's a question here for you. Does the guest have a YouTube channel?
No, I mean, no, I don't really post anything. I mean, if anything, you can go on my Instagram. You can request me because my Instagram is private. My Instagram is my real name, Salchi Hansford. Trust me, I'm the only one. I'm gonna pop up. I'll pop right up. SALCHI HANSFORD. And exactly what you see here is I posted on Instagram. I know I should be posting, having fun and all this other stuff, but so many people are posing online that I just got to put out the real stuff. But that's really where I am. I'm not on Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook since 2017, man.
Salchi Hansford?
Correct.
One N?
I'm sorry?
That's one N, Hansford, or two N's?
Yes, one N. Okay. One N.
Okay. Well, okay. So there you guys have it. And I suspect this information, with what Salchi, maybe you don't want to go,
oh yeah, yeah, and you're going to get a lot of pushback from a lot of professionals, especially financial advisors, and I eat them alive with basic numbers. So
Okay. So we're at an hour and 5 minutes, guys. I'm gonna I see some of the other financial guys like Alonzo and LJ there. I'll let some other guys come up. This is not going to be a 3-hour stream, guys. Again, keep it close to the topic. Please keep it constructive, because I want to leave this up, and 6 months later, I'm not going to remember what you said, and I don't want somebody coming and asking me, you were on a panel with these guys who said.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You're putting the black community down.
Yeah, you forget. So Salchi, I'm gonna throw the link in the chat. Now, why did you leave Facebook? Why'd you get off?
Well, I had been on there for so long. I've been on there from pretty much from the beginning. And then obviously, it was just getting out of hand. I was just like, man, I ain't got time for this. So that's it. So I just went cold turkey. I've been on literally since 2017. I just haven't had the urge to even log on at all.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
So literally, I mean, I'm on Instagram and Twitter because y'all can just slip in, slip out, post something real quick and be off.
Yep.
That's why. Yeah.
I totally get it. All right. We've been joined by Sheed. We here.
What's going on, Dr. Dunbar? How you doing?
Morning, Sheed.
And doing to your guest, I didn't actually catch his name, but
Sal. You call me Sal.
Sal. All right.
Yes.
Whoa. Yeah. Ron Wills. His proper title is Sal the Equalizer.
That's true.
He's taking out bad guys. He's going into Russian lounges and killing everybody. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I always hear what's his name, Grant Cardone, talk about this when he talks about the scale of money, to where people think like, man, if I just had $10,000 a month, man, I can retire comfortably and I can live this way. And then once you start breaking it down, like he had talked to one guy and he was like, do you think you can live off like 10 million or this much money for the rest of your life? And they was like, yeah. Then when they started putting in all their expenses, without kids, that's without kids, like staying out in somewhere where their rent was $3,000 a month, utilities and stuff, about 5 or 600. Then you got to have the car. Then most of the time they want the best car, insurance. You're doing 12 or something for that. When they start doing the numbers over the course of years, their little habits of drinking and smoking and all that, that's when they start realizing, like, man. And then when you add a kid in the mix, I mean, that's not even alone sending them to college. That was one of the biggest things what my wife, me and her discussed before having kids. She was like, because like I said, she already had 2, but her biggest thing was, having kids. It's a lot of hassle. I mean, with daycare, then you got to look at the whole thing with, just raising a child in general. The money there, a lot of people think, well, man, all you got to do is just, feed the child and clothe them and that's it. Man, the expense is way more. I mean, just maintain, like I say, when my kids now, I got them in tutoring and stuff, sharpening up everything, putting them in sports now, just all kind of stuff. All that costs at the end of the day, and nobody, factors those numbers. A lot of people, that want kids don't even know what they're actually getting into, because the whole thing, I always go back to society standards. We believe that everything is going to be okay. And somebody says, yeah, you just do this and do that. But you're factoring in all the stuff that back in the day, people were doing to now. Because I always hear guys, when we talk about the women back in the day, or we talking about the way the family was back in the day, it's not now. The structure is not there. A lot of people are not working together to where if you had to work or something, that you would have had a family member to watch those kids. Now those kids are going to daycares or going to people where you actually have to pay them to watch your kids now. I mean, even with family, you got some people you got to pay your family to watch the nieces and nephews. Like,
correct. And And when it comes to, I forgot to just to state, especially when it comes to like college expenses, a lot they don't properly prepare their children for college. Okay, do it right or do it properly. They can borderline go to college for free at a top college. But again, you have to prepare them and not just rely on these who go wrong. People who are more competitive and typically make more money, they don't do that. Even if they send their kids to private school, they still don't really rely on the schools to really. So by the college, compared to the average kid, the kid is probably already 5 to 10 years ahead of them, just going into college. Any grants or anything else, forget about it. They're already ahead because they may or may not even need any financial assistance from their parents and or any loans. So they're further financially ahead because they're not getting into debt to get a college degree. And then a lot of them, their credits are already excellent because their parents started them, first of all, with financial education before they were 10. And then by the time the kid was about some 15 to 17 years old, they had already had a credit card and they already have good credit. And they already have credit history. So by the time they're again 18, they can literally get a new car, while the average Joe just getting in the game again, they're behind.
Yeah. Let me read these super chats. Terrence, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, valuable information. I've had to reevaluate my current situation and trying to improve my income. And Giyagami says, thank you for the $5 super chat, supporting and appreciating. I appreciate that. Going back to what you just said, Salchi, this is a good book, guys. This is a short read. A couple of years ago at the Congressional Black Caucus Annual Legislative Conference, of course, they have a Salchi, you lived here. I'm sure you're familiar with that before the pandemic hit. It's a Black Democratic convention, basically, but they have a pavilion and a book, a book area with authors. And there was a woman there named Georgette Miller Esquire. So she's a lawyer. She's a financial person, and she wrote this book. It's a very, very small book. It's called Living Debt Free. I know if LJ is still in the chat, this probably makes him happy. But there's a passage in this book where she talks about how much further one of her law school classmates was ahead because the woman's grandmother invested and basically her law school expenses were paid for, versus Georgette. She finished the degree, but she had loans to pay back. So I think what that was about was, yeah, there are some families that are planning ahead, and there are some that aren't, and there are some that are just winging it. So, and before you go, I'm going to say this, Salchi, what you were talking about earlier about talking with one another and getting on the same page. These money topics, I'll just keep it general. I won't break down, gender or age group, but these money topics for some people, they're painful. Budgeting money, figuring out how to defer gratification, figuring out how to defer expenses. That's painful for some people. So I'll stop there.
The thing is, a lot of people take it as an assassination to their character, and that's why they have those feelings. But it's
so you're going in and out just a little bit. You're going in and out just a little bit.
I think it's either his connection or the Bluetooth, one or the other.
Okay. He was good before.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not judging anyone if budgeting and planning and delaying gratification, if that's painful for you. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying that, that there's a larger game being played than I go to work, I collect my paycheck, and I get to spend it on whatever I want to spend it on. There's a much larger game that the corporations and the government, the financial sector, that they're playing. And if you don't know that they're doing this, you're just being played in the game.
Yeah.
And I keep it basic. I just tell people, you really want your house, the rent mortgage. You really want to be, if you really want to be in the 7 to 15% range. That's really where you want to be. Max 25%. Because again, if you're working, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's 4 weeks in a year, there's 4 weeks in a month. 25% is 1 week. So, okay, what are you bringing home in 1 week? There it is. There's your rent or mortgage. Because if it's above that, now you're getting into savings and retirement money. End of story. I mean, basic. We don't need to do any crazy calculations and nothing else. That's it. I tell people you need to be at. Okay. Now, if you're married or you're a couple, you guys can actually move faster. Again, you need to be on the same page. The thing is, you're basically living on one person's income. And I know people who've done that, couples that have done that for some 10, 20 years, and that's why they're so far ahead. But again, these type of things are not discussed publicly. The other thing I like to say, car payment. Cars are I love cars. They're extremely expensive. High liability. Basically, whatever you make in 1 day, there it is. That should be the max of your car payment per month. Because remember, max was your rent or mortgage was a week's pay. And then max for your car payment is a day pay. So now you're a week and a day. Because that's half your income. So what does that leave you with? 4 more days. That's for everything else. So then, depending on the type of lifestyle you want, now based on those basic, percentages, then you can say, okay, I need to make X amount of dollars, and then look at what my take home money is going to be, income is going to be. That's it. Most people don't even want to do that. You can get ahead if you don't know that. It's just, again, we're talking numbers. We're not talking, your morals or your character. We're just talking numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you just can't. You cannot. And then remember, you're competing in the real world. So if you think you're going to be competing with people who really know their numbers, not going to happen. And the other thing is, as you age, you're really supposed to be more efficient. That's what people don't understand. That's why you make more money. You make more money because, one, you have more responsibilities. 2, you have more skills. But the most important thing is you're more efficient.
Okay. Sheed, did you want to say something?
Yeah. Basically, it's funny, man. Like me and my wife, when we got our house, her whole thing was to get the biggest and best house, all the bells and whistles. And I told her, no, it's better to scale up over time, and let's go ahead and focus on, things we need versus our wants, and honestly, we got on that page, got the house and end up getting another house and just so forth. But like even with the car situation, only time I have car notes is when I get a car for my wife, because basically I want her to have something that's real feasible to drive, no issues with it. Other than that, I don't even newer cars. I don't get newer cars. I get used cars. Why am I going to put all this money into a car, and if I fool around and miss payments and they repossess the car, then I've lost all that money. Same thing with a lot of people who get these big, nice houses going into debt and going into foreclosure because they can't afford them. So live mildly, don't spend as much. Like that's the biggest key that I try to tell people, like the reflection of looking at yourself in the mirror of all the money you like. Literally, I spent a lot of money when I was young on stupid stuff because I didn't have no one giving me that guidance. You know, I always talk about my aunt. Her kids basically just like, I got a cousin now. I always talk about him. This dude ain't worked in 5 years. Still paying 1,500 a month. Ain't worked in 5 years. And his mom gave him that. She went to school for business. Even though my aunt taught me some things when I was young, but I wasn't in a household with that knowledge. The amount of money and things I was doing when I was young compared to now, if I had that kind of financial structure, everything would be pretty much gold for me. You know, I learned this stuff over time, and as I got older and wanted to get into that, like that's when I had the, certain adults that came in and gave me the knowledge, because they started seeing me move it a certain way, and it was always like a karate instructor. Okay, excuse me. He's like, okay, you ready to learn? I'm gonna teach you now. But that should have been taught to me over time as I was growing up. I do that with my older kids now. We have the conversations about money, about if you need a credit card, I put you on as an authorized user to, boost your credit score, get a secure card, put this much on there. We're not teaching our kids this. And a lot of us adults, we say that we haven't learned this, and I give no excuse to them now because the internet is here. You can fix your credit and all this stuff without doing all that. Even when I talk about life insurance, shout out to Alonzo, like I'm big on that. Like my thing, I tell guys, I'm want to leave $1 million in the policy for my family and actually have them structured. Alonzo's helping me with that now. I have a pretty good amount, but for me getting more, that puts me in comfort knowing that I have something set up, even though I know $1 million is not going to be worth hardly more in the future. But the point of it is, it's a game plan. You got to start somewhere.
Because what people don't realize, and you, especially the last few years, have been hearing generational wealth, generational wealth. The real generational wealth is knowledge. You know,
Salchi, it's still happening.
I think I'm gonna drop down because I know ever since I came up, it's been doing it every once in a while.
Okay, you think StreamYard is struggling, huh?
Yeah, I just list from the chat.
Okay, thanks, Sheep. We'll go
Yep.
for about 10 more minutes anyway.
I don't know. I'm on my Wi-Fi. It should be good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. So there's almost like a little whisper, and then your voice comes in full strength.
Be the problem. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he said that because, again, generational wealth is knowledge, man. End of
I never heard
story.
that before.
It's the knowledge that gets passed down. Yeah. They don't talk about these things. If you talk to really, really wealthy or rich people, I mean, we would talk about money briefly, but we talked about life. We talked about books, art. We talked about everything else. We got over the money part first because it's like, first and foremost, if you can't talk money with them, it's like, dude, you don't know what the hell's going on. So because I understood the numbers and all this other stuff was the reason why they opened up to me. So they would even talk about it. They're like, nah, man, this stuff is passed down. The knowledge is passed down. That's what it really is. So even with me, I don't have kids, but I got nieces, nephews, god kids. And I tell the parents, I said, I put a lot of stuff like in my Gmail, and that's going to be for them, all knowledge. So obviously, I don't want to get and try to over parent my sisters and my friends, but I'm just going to give it to them once they hit 18. Here you go. so they can just run circles around, I mean, their peers. I mean, I told my sisters like a decade ago, I said, well, by the time these kids are about 12, 13, you need to get them secured credit cards.
Okay.
That's what I told them. And this is stuff that's, again, passed down to me from people who it was passed down to them. That's what they were already doing, or what they did with their kids. You see what I'm saying? That's what people don't understand. The wealth is not. It's you can't. That's great. You can have gold and all this other stuff, but if you don't know how to produce, if you don't know how to be industrious with it, it's worthless. And that's the knowledge. That's why wealth is. That's why knowledge is wealth. Period. But I liked what he was saying, man. I mean, same thing with the house, man. I mean, when you get a house, and I'm big on houses, man. I mean, obviously out here I rent because I'm in Arlington, man. I mean, literally outside, I mean, you can see exactly right over there. I don't know if you can see the house. It's not a big house.
Mm-hmm.
That house is about $1 million.
Yep.
Okay. And for me, I can't afford a house if I can't put 20% down. End of story. The average person, the average home buyer in this country, they only put 8% down.
If that.
Again, they don't make enough money, or they're buying too much of a house. Also, because because what you put down is actual equity. What's really happening is now they're going to charge you for mortgage insurance.
Yep. Yeah. Well, the other thing is,
people don't know.
If you're a white collar professional, you finish school, you have debt, and you get told, renting, you should stop renting. You're just making someone else rich. So you may go get a 0% down or a 3% down mortgage. And if no one explains to you about the mortgage insurance, or you're not starting off with enough equity, you don't know the difference. You don't know.
That's right. The financial industry, they don't really show you the real math. Yes, in the long run, if you can afford it, it's better to have a house. If, B-I-F, if you can afford it. So in this area, in my area, as of last month, median price is over $800,000. You put 20% down, that's what, $210,000?
Yep.
Cold hard cash. You're back to zero. We're not talking about savings. We're just talking about on a freaking house. I'm sorry. I'm putting $200,000 down on investments. That cash flow first. Then I'll go buy the house. Same thing with cars. I'm a freaking car nerd, man. I had my Beamer coupe when I was in the early 30s. I paid that month off in 2 years. Paid off. Freaking crashed that thing when I moved out here. But all that money's gone. What's the average car payment per month in this country as of last month was $576. Remember what I said? You don't want to pay more than what you make in a day. Does the average person make $576 in a day? Gross? Forget about net. Not even close. Used car average as of last month, $413 a month. Does the average person make that kind of money? Gross?
So Salty, so if the average car payment is $500, what kinds of cars are people buying? Are they buying BMWs and Mercedes-Benz, or what?
No. These are regular cars, man. A regular Civic now, because I was just looking at one. A Civic is $30,000. A Honda Civic, brand new. $30,000. $30,000. Why? Based on your income. Remember, they're in business. They've been keeping pace with inflation at a minimum. That's why they're still in business. Remember our discussion that Sunday when I was telling you about BMWs? And what y'all can see it if you request to be on my Instagram, you will see the post. It was a couple weeks ago. 1983, that's the year I was born. Base model BMW was a 320i. Base model, at that time, it was some 15,000, 16,000 in 1983. They don't make 320i's anymore. So the new equivalent, if you notice, these German cars, you notice that they're pumping out, you know, lower class cars now because they know people can't afford them. But anyway, now the base model to get in is a 330. Guess what that costs? Base model, $30,000. What's the equivalent from 1983? Almost $30,000.
Wow. Wow.
Your income hasn't kept pace. So it seems that the car is expensive. No, your income hasn't kept pace. That's the problem.
Okay.
Period. If we want to go to, we can go all the way to your retirement money. Here's the other thing everybody wants to talk about: compound interest. It's magic, you know, Benjamin Franklin. And I come in the mix. Okay, so when does compound interest actually start to get interesting? What's the figure? No one knows that. To this day, no one has answered that question for me. I know it. 2-point-something million. That's when it starts to get interesting. So that's where you need to start. Yes. That's when it starts to get interesting. Because remember, what are interest rates in a bank? Not even 1%. So you need 2-point-something million before compound interest really gets interesting. That's where you need to start. When it really starts to when you really start to shit your bed, excuse my French, about 5.2, 5.3 million. That's the number. People don't know the numbers. So if you don't have that kind of money, again, you put your money in a 401k, do the math. Max out on 401k every year for 40 years. And obviously you have to change your number because it changes every year. You're not gonna get no 2.9 million. We're just talking principle. And then they tell you, it's typically a 7-8% interest. You'll get 7 or 8%. That's what the market typically gives. What else aren't they telling you? Inflation. You do get expenses every month and or quarter for having that 401k. Oh, whoops. Forgot to factor that in. That's eating up your principal. Maybe, depending on what it's invested in. That's what they're not telling you. Realistically, if you're not financially savvy, all you really need to do is, I'll tell y'all right now, put the money, you can get a Vanguard or wherever your money goes, put that damn thing in the S&P 500 index. That's it. That's all you got to do. And you will beat most people who are in the Wall Street, in the market, period. Most people who trade stocks, they don't make money. The real number is less than 10% of people actually make money in the markets. I didn't know that. I had my internship, 2 guys, penthouse suite, when I was still living in Rhode Island in Providence. Penthouse suite. One guy was 10 years older than me. The other guy was 10 years older than him. So he told me, I'll never forget his name, Jeff Bogoza. He was a younger guy. Both of them were Italian. Sal, anyone who's in the market, who trades or does any of this thing, if they aren't doing 20% a year, why are they even in the game? He said, that's nothing. He said, these people are talking about Warren Buffett numbers? And then he showed me what he does. Yeah, he was doing over 20% per year. And also, when they're telling you what these funds are doing, that's what the fund is doing or what the fund manager is doing. Is that what's going on in your portfolio? Probably not. Again, you can't read the numbers. So you're further falling behind.
Well, I'm hearing several themes here. You know, if you're thinking about having a child, if you're thinking about getting married, you and your partner need to be on the same page. I'm hearing
that's right.
People don't understand the numbers. I'm hearing generational wealth is in information and knowledge. So I'm hearing some interesting things here. So Salchi, I'm gonna Alonzo left a question there. We're gonna wrap up with this one because I need to run somewhere. But Alonzo says, bro, can you hit them in the head with the Biden tax plan on unrealized capital gains? Do you know anything about that?
Well, okay. Read politics. As you know, they never do what they say they're gonna do before they get into office.
Right.
Their thing is they're on the surface, they're trying to say that they're going after the rich people, the people who make $400,000 plus a year.
Yep.
Remember, I told you $400,000, you ain't rich. Okay, all right. So really, this one is not difficult. It's just guys that make money, they're in a whole different planet, some universe. Okay, what they're trying to do, which would be a hot mess, okay, is for you to tax unrealized supposed income that you haven't realized yet. That's why I call it unrealized annually. They would further be destroying your portfolio because it's potential. Okay, so let's say let's say if it's a 401k, let's say that's what it is. And let's say your 401k went up, it'd be nice and say 8%. So they're gonna tax you who knows what on the 8% that it went up. That's okay, it's great your 401k went up 8% last year. Did you get any money? No. So they're literally taxing you on potential. No production, no nothing. I mean, literally nothing. So they're further taking away from your future, literally, or they're attempting to do that. It's insane. And it's not even him. I mean, you got to listen to Jelen Yellen. You got to listen to her. They're going around to other countries to have a flat corporate tax globally.
Hmm.
They're literally trying to enslave you. These politicians are literally trying to enslave you with your labor. Literally. They're the managers of society. They're supposedly supposed to be serving society. But what we have allowed, we have the taxpayers, we have allowed them to be a class or two or three above us. Do you think they want to give that away? No. That's why most of these politicians are career politicians. They have never been in the real world of earning money. Literally.
Yeah.
So it's easy for Biden, who's never had a real job, to say, "Oh yeah, we need more tax dollars, so we're gonna go after we're gonna attempt to go after the unrealized income." What?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because everybody's distracted by tweets and racism and
Again, that's all. It's all by design, because again, what sells? Emotionalism. That's what sells. So that's why it's so easy. It's hard for people like me. We're just looking at the numbers.
Yep.
Oh, this is what's going on. You hear them in the background. A little bill, slap it over, and what's this number over here? Oh, wait a minute, Social Security. Oh, wait a minute. You guys change it from, your top 10%, your top 10 years that you earn the most money. You change that, and now you average it out to just 20 or 30 years. Oh, so what you really did was that now you just decreased the Social Security income because you know that the system's unsustainable. Okay, I see the game you're playing. Anyway, I'm not even worried about no Social Security anyway. Whatever it's going to be, I don't care, because I'm worrying. I'm increasing my skills and being more efficient. I don't care. That's really for poor people. People don't know that. But if you say that out loud, they will call it classism and you're being rude. But nah, that's what they're doing. I'm the bad guy for telling you how they're screwing you over. I'm giving you the tool so you won't be screwed over. But I'm the bad guy, not the guys who are really, lying to you. Okay. That's what's going on, man. I mean, they're doing that. They're doing something. They want to also get into IRAs as well. A lot of people aren't hearing about that. The Roth IRAs, especially. Why? Even though all that money was already taxed anyway, because they want to tax you to death for the most part. What a lot of people don't know is, oh my God, what's this billionaire's name? Oh, I forgot. But he used a couple guys. These are exceptions to the rules now. A few guys. They were smart. They started their business from IRA funding. Remember, it's after-tax dollars. So whatever the profit is after that, you take all of that home. You don't get taxed further. That's financial education. And that's why they're also going after Roth IRAs. But again, like I told you earlier, you're capped out at 139,000 anyway. So if you get in there before that, you're good. The other game, I don't want to, I'm not trying to take up too much time. The other game, again, with most people don't understand, because most people, remember, you're an employee. So you're thinking like an employee. Most of these guys that make real money, their income is like nothing. Their real income is nothing.
Okay,
for the most part.
Unpack that. When you say their real income, are you talking about taxes, depreciating taxes?
Yeah,
Nothing?
Let's just take Mark Zuckerberg, because
Yep.
he and I, we're basically the same age.
Yep.
What's his income? $1.
But that's taxes, right?
This is why I say,
or is it that?
well, no, because
he's making money from his corporation.
Well, no, his income literally is $1. The thing is, he can collateralize his stock or stock options to fund his lifestyle. That's unearned income. They're playing a different game. You're playing earned income game, which is the highest taxed.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're not making anywhere near what they're making. That's why you can't get ahead. Or that's why it's foolish to look at these people and think that you're going to do what they do. Oh, I'm gonna invest like Warren Buffett. Do you know how Warren Buffett actually invests? No, you don't. He gets a fund, and they buy controlling power within companies. In companies, whole different ballgame. He's just not trading stocks. But you hear people, I'm gonna trade stocks like Warren Buffett. Bro, no, you're not. And we know the other things that he's in. I know what he's in. He says some things that you would think that in my opinion, he shouldn't be saying, but he'll say it because most people don't know anything about finances. I mean, what he has done, no one has done what Warren Buffett has done. I will give him that. But if we're talking just stocks and trading, I can give you lists of names of people who smoke him, run circles around him.
Okay. All right. Well, Salchi, I need to wrap up here. Do you want to? I mean, we started off with the article about how much it costs to, raise a child from birth to 18 years old in 2021. But we went into some different areas. Do you want to give a few takeaways, or what people should take away from? I think what you said about what middle class is important, because let's go back to the image guy. Let me pull up my picture here, and I'm not saying anything bad about the image guy. A lot bad has been said about him, but from our consultation with him, and this is just for perspective, everybody. One of the things that I was told was that I would need to invest at least $10,000 a year in professional services. So you think about, I was making ballpark that much, had to get my retirement savings going. And so now you're taking off another $10,000 for image consultation, personal trainer, all these coaching, all this professional coaching. For someone making 200 to 300, maybe that's not so much money, but for someone making 120 government salary, that's significant. You know, your mother saying you can afford $3,000 is a drop in your hat. That should be nothing to you. Well, that's not true. And then going back to what you said about what middle class actually is, one of the criteria for being a high value man, I think, is making $10,000 a month, right? But the numbers you gave kind of blow that out of the water, right?
Yeah, you're not even in the top 10% of income earners. You're not. I mean, and that's national. Again, that's national figures. So it also depends on where you are. But also remember, depending on how you're making your money, if you're an employee, HR knows this. So a lot of people might move to a different state. But are you really making more money? If you don't know the cost of living difference percentage, a lot of people aren't. They really aren't. Like, for where we are, Dr. Dunbar, compared to where I'm from in Rhode Island, that's a 31 to 32% difference. So what I make, I would have to, the equivalent is minus 31, 32%. Just raw numbers. So, yeah, I mean, as a man, of course you want to make more money. I'm sorry?
So here is more expensive than Rhode Island. Are you saying Rhode Island's more expensive than here?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh no, here's more expensive. But here's the other thing that people also forget: when you're in higher income areas, what's typically going on? Higher paying jobs. Also, you're typically around, quote unquote, more industrious, more ambitious, smarter people. So depending on how you want to play the game, you can move faster. You can learn faster. Again, I'm not concerned too much about the money. I'm not worried about money personally. I'm more about the information. Again, knowledge is wealth. I'd rather be there. So that's why I moved out here. And that's why before I even left, the first place I moved to was Stanford. I just didn't realize the gap. And that's why I can survive out here without a problem. So I'm not afraid of a higher income place because the people are different and your network. So I understand what the high value guy is saying, the $10,000 a month. The other side of that is, who are you? So you can attract or have a network of guys who are already there above you. So you can actually pay a fraction of that money. So you're really not, because even when I go to the gym a lot, if I talk a little bit, typically I end up running into somebody who owns some kind of business. Typically. And a lot of people don't understand that. Like, what you do regularly, that's how you network. You don't really go out there to network. It's like what you do. So I can get into almost anything I want to get into just based off how I live my life on a daily basis and based on who I am. So I don't have to fork out on $10,000. Now, I mean, for training or for work, for skills purposes, okay, I got to take courses and continued ed. Okay, yes. But outside of that, no. Every Saturday, again, I'm a car guy. Every Saturday, they got one of the biggest car gatherings in the country over here in Great Falls. Every Saturday morning. I go out there, you never know who you're going to run into. That's networking, because I love cars. So it's not that I'm not trying to go there and take. I'm going there. We're talking cars, we're talking this, we're talking that. And if you guys really, really vibing, now you guys exchange numbers. Now you find out what this guy's doing, what you're doing. That's how, and then depending on what you do, your game is to add value to them. That's how you get into that's how you network. Then they open the door.
Okay.
That's the game. That's the game. I don't gotta spend no $10,000, man. I don't need to.
To become a high value.
I've been going to the gym since I was what? Yeah, I don't need. Maybe again maybe because that's just my upbringing. Man, I've been in the gym since I was 21, 38. It's nothing to me. I go online. I'm looking at scientists. I'm reading white papers. So I'm looking at the facts, not some influencer. Well, I mean, that's how I weed out influencers anyway. So I'm looking at real scientists, real doctors, real this. And then when they talk, they give, Dr. Dunbar, you guys give references. So I check out their references. And when it checks out, based on where I want to go, I use that. That's it. I didn't spend no $10,000.
Okay. All right. Well, Salchi, I need to shut this down. So, hey,
yes.
Thank you for coming up and putting your 2 cents or your 2 million cents into this topic. If you're willing to come back, we should do this again. Yeah.
Definitely. I appreciate you inviting me. I will. Just let me know.
Okay. All right, everyone. Well, I'm going to shut this down. If you came in late, I read the article in the beginning and I said some other things in the beginning. And as what typically happens, we went into some other areas, but I think all those areas apply to the article that I read and the subject matter of the stream. I think the takeaway is that there are a lot of things a lot of people just don't understand. A lot of things people just don't understand when they talk to you about how you should be living your life and what you should be doing and what familial expectations are. And even when you're looking at the decisions your peers are making and the life decisions your peers have made, you don't really know a lot about their lives and how what inheritances they were passed on to them. You just don't know. But I think from the article and from what Salchi's talked about over the last hour and a half, there's just a lot of things people don't know. And one of the main things is the numbers. And there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of things that aren't being presented to us in the most clear way. So with that, we'll do this again. One of my emphases for this channel is information and money and financial literacy and thoughts for the day and all kinds of things. Salchi, this question came again.
It's my real name. First name is Sal. Excuse me, Salchi. Last name is Hansford, Hansford. I'll pop right up because I'm the only one with that name. So
yeah, I don't know any other Salchis. I know a couple of Anwars, but I don't know any other Salchis. MLR says, excellent stream. Shout out to Salchi on your information. And thanks, Dr. Dunbar. Yeah. Again, guys, I want to put this disclaimer out there. None of this was to cast anybody in a bad light or make fun of anybody. And when you haven't heard this type of information before, you might say, okay, wow, I never thought about it that way, or how come nobody told me, or these guys are talking about me for decisions that I made and I didn't know. So no, this isn't to do that. It's just, I want to turn this channel into a bit of an information hub / think tank. So we're just talking about what's going on and the numbers and what some of these things actually mean. So guys, with that, I'm going to flash this one more time for marketing purposes. This is my book project, which actually involves this, because what you know affects your success, whether that's being a basketball player or a financial advisor or a business owner. And that's very much what my book is about. The link is in the description box below in case you want to read some more about it. And I'm going to take us out with the music in the intro. Everyone, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for the generous super chats. And enjoy the rest of your weekend, what's left of it, and be safe out there. Salchi, thanks again. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right.